You're sitting there late at night, the lights are off, and the world has gone quiet. But your mind is loud, it's not resting, it's not still, it's running in circles. You're thinking about what happened 10 years ago and what might happen tomorrow. You're replaying every word from a conversation that ended hours ago. You're creating alternate realities in your head, ones that never came true but feel just as heavy. Your heart is pounding, not from running, but from racing thoughts. And you call it being careful, you call it planning, but deep down you know it's not helping you, it's draining you. It's stealing your peace, robbing your sleep, and stopping your progress. Overthinking is a silent killer, not of the body, but of the spirit. It strangles your joy, suffocates your confidence, and smothers the fire in your soul. It tells you you're being productive, that you're being responsible, but what you're really doing is standing still with your mind in overdrive. You're mentally exhausted, but haven't taken a single step forward. You've run 1,000 mental marathons and haven't moved an inch. You're paralyzed, not by a lack of ability, but by a flood of imaginary fears and doubts. You were not built to live like this. You weren't created to live in the echo chamber of your own uncertainty. You were designed to move, to act, to live. And somewhere along the line, you forgot that clarity doesn't come from more thinking. It comes from doing, from moving, from making a decision and trusting that, even if it's not perfect, it will produce progress, because you can fix a mistake, but you can't fix hesitation. You can clean up a mess, but you can't clean up something you never started. You can't redirect a parked car. Overthinking makes you question everything. It turns a simple task into a mountain. It turns a compliment into suspicion. It takes a moment of silence from someone else and turns it into a story about rejection. It turns love into fear. It turns opportunity into danger. And the worst part is, it feels so real. It feels like wisdom. It feels like protection. But it's fear dressed up like logic. It's anxiety pretending to be strategy. Let me ask you something. How many blessings have you missed because you were too busy thinking? How many open doors have closed because you stood outside analyzing the hinges? How many relationships have died not from conflict, but from imaginary scenarios you played over and over until trust evaporated? That's the cost. That's what overthinking does. It doesn't just slow you down. It breaks you down. And the reason you do it, because deep down you don't trust, not yourself, not the process, not God. You think, if I can just think enough, I'll be safe. If I prepare for every outcome, I won't be blindsided. If I can anticipate every risk, I'll be protected. But life doesn't work that way. You can't think your way out of uncertainty. You can't plan your way out of pain. Sometimes you just have to walk through it. You just have to show up, uncertain, unprepared, even a little scared, but present. And that's where the real power is, not in having all the answers, but in having the courage to move forward without them. You weren't called to be perfect. You were called to be faithful, and faith isn't found in overthinking. It's found in stepping, in trying, in trusting, in saying, I don't know how this will turn out, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's faith, that's strength, that's freedom, because freedom isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to act in spite of it. There's a line between preparation and paralysis, and most people don't know when they've crossed it. They tell themselves, I'm just being cautious, but really they're being controlled by fear of failure, controlled by fear of rejection, controlled by a need to be perfect before they begin. But perfection is a lie. Progress is messy. Growth is uncomfortable. And the only way to get better is to get started. To fail, to learn, to adjust, and to try again. You see, when you overthink, you're not just slowing yourself down, you're rewriting reality. You're taking the truth and layering it with fear until you can't see straight. That text message that didn't get a reply, now it means you're not valued. That project that didn't turn out the way you hoped, now it means you're not capable. That job you didn't get, now it means you'll never be successful. That one mistake, now it means you're permanently broken. But none of that is truth. That's fear feeding your imagination until your imagination becomes your prison. And here's what's wild. You trust your negative thoughts more than your positive ones. Someone compliments you, and you question it. Someone criticizes you, and you believe it instantly. That's the pattern overthinking creates. It trains your brain to believe the worst, to expect the worst, and to create the worst in your mind until your body starts living like it's true. But it's not true, it's not your truth, it's just a thought, and thoughts can be challenged, thoughts can be replaced, thoughts can be rejected. You don't have to accept every thought that passes through your mind. You don't have to invite every voice to sit down and have a conversation with you. You can be the gatekeeper of your mind. You can say, no, not today, not this time, I'm not going to spiral, I'm not going to dwell, I'm not going to replay that moment for the 100th time. I've got more important things to do, because you do. You have a life to live, a calling to fulfill, a purpose to walk in, and none of that is found in overthinking. It's found in bold action, in stepping out when the path isn't clear, in trying again after you've failed, in forgiving yourself for what you didn't know then, in speaking up even when your voice shakes, in living with intention instead of fear. The only way to stop overthinking is to start trusting yourself, trusting your growth, trusting that even if you make a mistake, it doesn't define you, trusting that every experience, good or bad, is a teacher, trusting that every time you move forward, you're building strength. You're building confidence, you're building peace, and don't let anyone fool you. Peace isn't passive. Peace is power. Peace comes from knowing that you don't have to control everything to be okay, that you don't need every detail to move, that you don't need every answer to believe. Peace is saying, I may not know what's ahead, but I know who I am, and I know who's walking with me. So the next time your thoughts start racing, pause, breathe, remind yourself that not every thought is worth your energy, not every worry is worth your attention. You don't have to chase every what if, you don't have to prepare for every possible downfall. You just have to take the next right step. That's it. One step, one moment, one decision, and that's how the overthinking ends. When the doing begins, your mind is not your enemy. It's a tool, and when you use it right, it helps you build. But when you let it run wild, it starts to tear down what you're trying to build. So take back control. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait until it's perfect. Just move, act, decide, and let your actions speak louder than your fears. Let your courage drown out the noise. Let your faith lead the way forward, because that's how you rise. That's how you break free. That's how you stop overthinking, by daring to live when fear tells you to hide. You don't need more time to think. You need more courage to move. That's the truth. Most people don't need another 5 days to consider their options. They don't need another journal entry or another pros and cons list. They need boldness, they need faith, they need to stand up and say enough, because overthinking is not a reflection of wisdom, it's a reflection of fear, and fear, when left unchecked, will become the loudest voice in the room. It'll dress itself up as logic, as concern, as being realistic, but deep down it's just one message over and over. You're not ready. You might fail. They might laugh. You might regret this. And if you don't learn how to respond, it will run your life. There comes a point when you have to look at your mind and say, you're not in charge anymore. There comes a point when you stop negotiating with doubt and you start moving through it. You stop trying to make the path comfortable, and you start becoming comfortable with the path being uncertain. Because there's no such thing as a risk-free life. There's no such thing as a perfect decision. There's no moment where all the stars line up and every question is answered and all fear is gone. That's not real. What's real is this: fear doesn't leave, you grow bigger than it. Doubt doesn't disappear, you stop obeying it. And the way you do that is not by thinking harder, but by acting louder. Overthinking has become a way people avoid responsibility. It's easier to say, "I'm still thinking about it," than to say, "I'm scared to try." It's easier to say, "I need more clarity," than to say, "I'm afraid of being wrong." But you will never get free by hiding behind mental preparation. At some point, you have to go out into the storm. You have to face the unknown. You have to trust that the same God who gave you the vision will give you the power to carry it out. And he doesn't do that while you sit and overanalyze. He does it while you walk, while you act, while you show up imperfect, unsure, but obedient. You want peace, then take action. Because peace doesn't come from thinking about doing the right thing. Peace comes from doing it. Peace comes when your actions are in alignment with your values, when your life reflects your calling, when your habits reflect your goals. You can't think your way into purpose. You have to live your way into it. You have to take a step before you know where the staircase leads. You have to open the door before you know what's on the other side. That's how life works. That's how growth happens. And don't get it twisted. Overthinking doesn't mean you're intelligent. It means your intelligence has turned against you. It means your gift has become a liability, because you can be smart and still stuck. You can be insightful and still afraid. You can have vision and still be crippled by indecision. Intelligence isn't the issue. The issue is trust. The issue is discipline. The issue is whether or not you will use what you know or just drown in it. You've been praying for clarity, but God's waiting on obedience. You've been asking for signs, but God's already spoken. You're trying to delay destiny by calling it discernment. But the truth is, you know what to do. You just don't want to deal with the consequences of doing it. You don't want to be uncomfortable. You don't want to face failure. You don't want to feel the pain of being misunderstood. So you sit, you stall, you analyze, and you pretend like that's being wise. But wisdom is not indecision. Wisdom is action wrapped in discernment. It's not hiding. It's moving forward with insight, with peace, and with strength. Do you know what happens when you stop overthinking? You start to live. You stop carrying the weight of everything that might go wrong and start experiencing everything that might go right. You stop waiting for a guarantee and you start living by faith. You stop replaying the past and you start writing your future. That's the shift. That's the change. That's where everything opens up. Overthinking has convinced you that the worst case scenario is more real than the best case possibility. It's trained you to prepare for the fall more than you prepare for the flight. But what if it works? What if they say yes? What if it's better than you imagined? What if the thing you've been delaying is the very thing that sets your life on fire? What if the risk leads to the reward? What if obedience opens the door to blessing? You'll never know unless you move, and moving means letting go of the need to control every outcome. You can't play safe and win big. You can't live in the shallow end and expect deep fulfillment. At some point, you have to dive in. At some point, you have to decide that your peace is more important than your pride. That your purpose is more important than your fear, that your destiny is more important than your doubts. And when that happens, when you finally say, "I'm done thinking and I'm ready to live," everything begins to change. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another TD talk. You don't need another book. What you need is discipline. What you need is decision. What you need is to get up and do the thing you've been thinking about for years. Call them, apply for it, launch it, apologize, forgive, say yes, say no, walk away, show up, whatever it is, do it, not perfectly, not flawlessly, but faithfully. Overthinking feeds on delay. Starve it by deciding. It grows in silence. Silence it with action. It multiplies in isolation. Destroy it with community. Talk to someone. Be real. Let them know what you're battling in your mind. Stop pretending you've got it all together while your thoughts are tearing you apart. You don't have to carry this alone. You don't have to live trapped in your head. There is freedom on the other side of that first step. And hear me. You are not your thoughts. You are not your anxiety. You are not your past. You are not your fears. You are not your failures. You are more. You are called. You are chosen. You are powerful. You are loved. And you are capable of more than you think. But you will never experience it if you keep thinking yourself out of your own greatness. You can't outthink fear. You can only outlive it. So the next time the thoughts start spinning, the next time you feel overwhelmed by possibilities and paralyzed by pressure, pause, breathe, remind yourself who you are. Remind yourself why you started. Remind yourself that fear has never produced progress, that worry has never opened doors, that delay has never created destiny. Action does, faith does, obedience does. Your future is too important to surrender it to anxiety. Your calling is too great to bury it under hesitation. Your life is too valuable to waste it in mental loops. You don't have time to overthink anymore. You don't have time to second guess what God has placed in your heart. You've got work to do. You've got people to help. You've got a difference to make. So stop thinking. Start moving. The world is waiting on what's inside you. And it's time to let it out. So now the moment has come. Not for more questions, not for more delay, but for decision. You've carried the weight of overthinking long enough. You've entertained fear, doubt, and delay as if they were friends, but they've done nothing but hold you hostage. Today you draw the line. Today you silence the noise. Today you stand up and say, I will no longer be ruled by what if. I will be led by what is. And what is power. What is purpose. What is potential. You don't need the whole picture. You just need to take the next step. And when you do, you'll discover what's always been true. The life you're called to live is not on the other side of perfect thinking. It's on the other side of fearless action. Now go, move, decide, and never look back.